If you find yourself being frustrated with your rig and you're in gigs and situations where your rig's just like kind of getting in your way. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people that are into cinema cameras were those annoying kids that were super into Legos. Like, hey, you want to come over and play with my Legos? Like, no, fool, I want to go outside and shoot cool stuff. So as a lot of you guys know, I don't put a lot of thought into these videos. I kind of just like, I have a free moment, let me do this video that I've been wanting to do. This year has been kind of busy for me, even with COVID going on. It's actually been extra busy, oddly. So I'm going back and forth with clients and handling deadlines, and it's like kind of nonstop. So can't really put too much thought into these videos, but yeah, enough rambling. The Canon C70, when I first heard about this, I was insanely freaking excited. It was basically everything I wanted with internal NDs, RF mount, so I can bounce back and forth between my Canon R5. A lot of people know, if you've been following the past 2 years on YouTube, I switched from a Canon 6D to a Fujifilm system, to the GFX Fujifilm system to Sony. The whole point of that was Canon wasn't keeping up with the rest of the industry on like really making gear that would make our careers easier for us. So I started to veer off and get into mirrorless stuff. Then I got into cinema cameras, and then video somehow became like my main source of income. And I guess that's always been kind of the goal from the beginning, is just to get into making films and stuff. That will be the next thing. But for now, I'm gonna focus on getting more commercial work, like video commercial work. And then the photo stuff kind of just comes along with that naturally, so far for me at least. So anyways, start with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. Footage coming off that was amazing, but the form factor quickly, I outgrew that. Having to put together all those pieces and everything was just really obnoxious. So I went from building like these giant obnoxious badass looking rigs into getting a ZCam, because the ZCam just pretty much gave me everything I wanted. It was more nimble, it was more heavy duty, it was a tank, had way better footage quality than the Blackmagic, in my opinion, the 4K. So yeah, I got the E2S6, I actually have it right here, might as well just get it. So this is the ZCam that I was rocking. That thing I actually only used it on a handful of gigs. So I actually honestly haven't owned it too much, but the quality coming out of it was like stunning. I heard about the red Komodo, so I was interested in the red Komodo. Then the C70 gets announced. I would say the quality is on par with Komodo. It's just that the Komodo has the red raw. There's like a thickness to the image quality. It's really hard to explain. This C70 has the same sensor as the Canon C300 Mark III with the DGO, so it has extra clean shadows, blah, blah, blah. There's a million videos on it already. So yeah, this is just my first impressions, you know? Right off the bat, the C series is a lot different than the Canon mirrorless series. Personally, in my opinion, the Canon mirrorless series is a lot more intuitive, specifically their autofocus system. So the autofocusing on here, on the R5, we're used to just tapping to do tracking, and then you just click on top and then it will cancel the tracking. Well, on here, you have to assign a button to go into tracking. So I have this button up here set to tracking, and I also have this button down here set for tracking. The reason I have two is another complaint of mine is, since the slide grid's pretty much locked into this, I usually like to here, I'll show you on the ZCam real quick. You can see it's kind of at a slight tilt because I'm usually getting kind of low and I'm shooting off my hip and angling up. So on the C70, having this locked in, if I'm using the side grid, my wrist is going to be breaking like this. So I signed this button up here because if I'm holding it this way, I'll be able to click this and then I could tap to do my tracking. And then if I'm handling it from the top panel, I would be able just to click right here and then I can assign it from there. So already naturally, this is how I'm kind of rocking this whole rig, is the top panel, and I'm holding on to the LCD over here. I'm able to click record from here, and I could do all my settings from here. But the other annoying thing about the tracking is, in order to reset your point, you have to re-click that button and choose. And if you want to cancel it, you can either click the cancel button back here, or you could double tap that tracking thing. And when you first get the camera, it doesn't even have a button set for that, so you have to assign that yourself. Other thing that kind of annoys me is there's no histogram on it. There's waveforms, there's false color and all that, but sometimes when I'm doing my run-and-gun stuff, you guys saw, I shoot a lot of like Western stuff, I don't have time to turn my false colors or waveforms where it's giving you a little bit too much detail. On a histogram, I'm able just to dip it right under the peaking and just keep running and gunning basically. Now with that said, the face tracking on this is, I would say it's pretty damn close to the R5 actually. It doesn't have eye tracking, but I feel like it naturally will find the eye and focus on the eye a little bit more than the face. So maybe internally it's kind of low key doing eye tracking. I'm not sure about that. So yeah, now let's get into NDs real quick. I used to rock a matte box with Nissi hard NDs, and that was like the cleanest footage I've ever gotten before. Hard NDs I favor way more, but I actually have hard NDs that are magnetic. Again, these are freewheel. You basically just screw on the string, and then from there you can swap filters in and out, and it actually makes it way easier to use. And you guys see I'm in the field a lot, and so I get dirt all over these and stuff, and they still stick. But I got annoyed of just like even having to swap those out or messing with matte boxes. Freewheel's variable ND. This is the one I've been rocking. I had the Peter McKinnon one, but I like to get a lot of blue skies into my shots, and then the Peter McKinnon ones kind of would brown the skies. The freewheel NDs are like the cleanest variable NDs that I've used so far. I'm not sponsored by them at all. They do send me stuff to test out sometimes and to use and all that, but they don't pay me to say anything good about them. I think they just know their product is pretty badass. But with all that said, I'm really tired of using variable NDs, and so just having internal NDs just makes my life 1,000 times easier. You literally just click this button here, it goes up to 10 stops. I realize though, when you're at 6 stops and plus, the autofocus struggles a tiny bit more. You're basically shutting out light that can hit the sensor, so the autofocus is gonna struggle a little bit more. So again, at 6 stops plus, you start seeing it struggle. Boosting up your ISO, that's just making the sensor more sensitive. It's not actually giving it more light to work with. So that doesn't really help it too much either. I'm sure Canon can easily give us an option to where you could just click to track and cancel it all from the screen, so you don't have to mess with any of the buttons. The audio controls on here, most of my gigs again are rent a gun, so I just do Foley sounds, and I'll go on like Epidemic Sounds and I'll just do all their sound effects usually. But there are times where I need to capture a voiceover, or I'm working with like an influencer or something like that and I have to record audio for them. I haven't had to do any too intensive stuff with the ZCam. I usually have external audio gear, but running audio off the ZCam was kind of annoying because you have to go all through the menus. There's not a lot of dedicated buttons on it. It would be better if ZCam had a specific monitor that they made that went perfectly with their camera, so you could mess with the menus and everything from that monitor. I'm assuming they're probably working on something like that because that company is pretty small and they're very innovative. Pretty much if you go in their Facebook group, you can tell them that something needs fixed, if they need something. The owner of the company is in that group, so he most likely will see it. That's what I love about ZCam. I feel like they're the most underrated cameras out there right now. Basically, the audio controls on here are amazing to use. There's no gimmicks with it. There's no finicking with it. It's all right here, so there's not much to say about that. It's solid. Let's talk about our in-camera assist tools. When you're working with mirrorless cameras, they don't give you waveforms. They don't give you false color. They might give you a histogram. The focus peaking is usually not amazing on them. And if they do have focus peaking, there's not a whole lot of like adjustments you can do on it. And then when you put an external monitor on there, there's a bunch of issues. Sometimes it does go over here. Even my R5, I'm using my Portkeys BM5 external monitor, and the flip out LCD on the R5 just kind of shuts out, and so you have to do everything from the camera. You can't use the touchscreen at all, which is really annoying. With the ZCam, when you have an external monitor on there, it lowers the resolution if you're using the focus peak or anything like that, and it becomes unusable. It's really obnoxious. It's really annoying. And then when you're changing between Kodaks or different resolutions, it messes stuff up too. And so you're stuck with using the external monitor's assist tools, which is fine, but they're never as great as the internal assist tools. What is that? Sorry, y'all. So the R5 started to overheat because I was shooting the 4K HQ mode. So I had to go down to the standard 4K, so we probably just lost some resolution. That's the downside of this R5. If you're using the regular 4K mode, you'll rarely get overheating. The issue is with that though, it's a very soft 4K mode, which is fine for YouTube shit. I don't really care. But if I'm doing like professional gig, that's kind of annoying. Anyways, the internal assist tools, they're solid in here. Having just like sharp focus peaking is amazing. What's annoying though is whatever color focus peaking you're using, it puts a layer of that color over the whole screen. You have to turn it almost all the way down, practically off, just for it to disappear, and then the focus peak is not really usable because you can't really see it. You could put the focus assist tool to where you could basically tap, and it has these two little triangles and they'll meet up when you're in focus, but that's not very realistic for the kind of stuff that I do. I don't have time to be tapping the box and then having to get mount focus and trying to keep it in the box and tracking it. Focus peaking is just the way to go. The waveforms is pretty freaking awesome. It's really small. I haven't found a way to make it bigger, so it's kind of hard to see if you're peaking your highlights or not. False color is awesome, but I also can't find a way to have the false color menu on there, just telling you what colors are which. I have a really bad memory. I will never be able to remember what color does what. So I have to go in the menus, into the assist tools, into the false color tool, and then they'll have the menu in there that you have to click into, which is really annoying to have to keep doing. But with that said, they're very, very, very solid tools. It's just they have their little quirk. I'm hoping that maybe we get a firmware that at least cleans up the focus peaking, because that will help a lot. But I mean, I could easily live with that, with just having solid focus peaking that I can actually see. Also, the LCD, a lot of people said that it wasn't bright enough to see outside. I'm in California and we've had nothing but bright sunny days since I've had this for like a few days. Again, I haven't shot anything crazy with this. I just shot my dog in the backyard and stupid like sunset stuff, nothing crazy. But I can easily see the screen outside. When it comes out of the box, the backlight's set to 0. You can push it up to 2, and when you do that, it gets a lot brighter and you're able to see a lot more. It'd be pretty badass if like Tilta or Small Rig or someone came out the sun hood that could kind of flop in and out. That would help even more. Just think about pulling up to a location, taking your camera out of the bag, and it's ready to go. That's kind of what this whole camera does for me. Is it worth 3 times the price of my ZCam? I don't know. The footage looks kind of similar. You guys saw, I just made a previous video comparing it. The ZCam kind of holds up to the look of it. The Canon C70 definitely has cleaner shadows. It definitely has like that thicker like saturation to the image, to where like in the shadows there's like this thick velvety colors. That's the only way I can really explain it. I would say red has it even more, but more like in the mid-tones, and their highlight roll-off is gorgeous, kind of like filmic. On the C70, they kind of have that, but red still kind of owns that thick image quality, if that makes sense. FilmConvert, the company who runs FilmConvert, they actually came out with a Cinmatch, I think it's, or Cinematch, something like that. It's a software where you can match cameras up. So I'm actually gonna try that and see if I get it close to red. If not, I'll also try the color matcher or whatever it's called in DaVinci Resolve. Tried it before, and you can actually make the C70 footage look like red Komodo footage a little bit in there. So there are options to get that. I think the way that red has been kind of getting that look is just from their insane dynamic range. I would say the C70 matches that dynamic range almost, and so we're able to kind of push the image in that way now. Again, people are complaining about the record button being too stiff. I freaking love it. The ZCam's is pretty stiff too, but it's like a rubber, and sometimes I wouldn't be able to click the button because you can't tell if you're recording or not. On here, you can feel if you're actually doing it or not. Yeah, no overheating, battery life is awesome. Just being able to use V90 SD cards, USH2 cards, is freaking awesome. My last gripe, this top handle is the ugliest freaking thing I've ever seen. I wouldn't say it's very uncomfortable, but you guys saw my ZCam rig. I like things to be very tight and compact. This thing is just like, I don't know. I don't know what this is at all. It's very weird looking. It feels very plasticky. It doesn't make the camera uncomfortable to hold, but I'm excited to see all these companies make some cages and stuff for this. You guys know I'm hard on my gear, and so having a cage on here would make me feel a lot more comfortable. I feel like that's all I can really say about it. Again, I haven't really shot anything. I usually don't like making videos unless I have actually used the cameras, but first impressions. Just to wrap things up, I love it. I don't have any buyer's remorse. I don't regret spending $6K on this. It's $6K after taxes, basically. I will miss my ZCam, but I'm selling it to my assistant, Jericho. So Jericho, you better let me borrow it. Do I think you need to run out and get this camera? No. If you find yourself being frustrated with your rig and you're in gigs and situations where your rig's just like kind of getting in your way, then this might be the camera for you. I know that's why I got this, just because it kind of simplifies and compacts everything to one thing, and I don't have to rig it up at all. So for me, that makes my life easier. That makes my job less stressful. It's less parts to worry about. It's less things to go wrong. I just want to show you guys, I'm sitting on my nuke case because my room's a disaster right now. Peace.